Hey there, and welcome to the first ever episode of Revive Your Health. I am your host, Dr. McNabb, and it is my goal of this show and this channel to help guide you and direct you into the most cutting edge healthcare information, technology, research, and to really help you get to the root cause of the underlying issue and to prevent those issues from manifesting to becoming worse and ruining your health. I want everybody to have a life full of vibrance, full of vitality, and just live life to the fullest and achieve all your goals and dreams that you want to achieve. And so today's episode is on heart health. I am going to be giving you my top 3 things that you can do to prevent heart disease, to reverse heart disease, and give you and your family the best fighting chance against this chronic illness. I mean, right now, heart disease is the second leading cause of death in America. 5 out of 6 Americans, it's estimated 5 out of 6 Americans will be diagnosed at least with heart disease in their lifetime. And many people unfortunately die every single year. It is a chronic illness that is affecting millions of Americans, and it's getting worse by the day. And you know, I gotta tell you, more treatment of the symptoms, I don't believe is the answer. More medications and a more sedentary lifestyle that we tend to lead as we get older because of our aches and our pains and our illnesses and our restrictions and limitations in life has led more and more Americans to heart disease. And so I'm going to give you my top 3 things. Some of them are not going to be very newsflash information. They're not going to be very cutting edge, but some of them are. In fact, I may even throw in a bonus, a 4th one there for you now that I think about it. And so here we go. Number 1, no surprise, is going to be exercise. But maybe what isn't going to be a surprise for you is the type of exercise that is the best for you. Cardio got its name by shortening cardiovascular. So most people, when I say exercise and as it relates to their heart, they think I have to do 45 minutes to 60 minutes on a treadmill or an elliptical. And that's an hour of your day. You're gonna go to the gym 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, and then you gotta shower because you're all sweaty. And you know what, it takes up a big chunk of your day. Well, the good news is that it does not take you an hour to maximize the effectiveness of exercise as it pertains to your heart. In fact, you can get the best exercise for your heart in as little as 12 to 15 minutes. Yeah, and so if you are able to exercise at 80 to 85% of your max heart rate for 12 to 15 minutes, the research has proven that type of exercise specifically is better for your heart and can actually be far superior for other aspects of your health. So let me explain. 80 to 85% of your max heart rate. So if you don't know what your max heart rate is, you have to take 220 minus your age. So I'll do a quick example. If you are a 20-year-old, your max heart rate is 200. And so then what you do is you find 80 to 85% of 200. So whatever your age, take 220 minus your age, 30, 40, 50, whatever that is, and that is your max heart rate. Then you have to do a little bit of a math and you have to figure out what 80 to 85% of that number is. So in our example, if we have a 20-year-old, 80 to 85% of 200, whatever that number is, I don't have a calculator near me, so whatever that number is the 80 to 85%, call it the sweet spot. In fact, there are companies, and I don't endorse any sort of company or organization, but there are whole entire organizations like Orange Theory Fitness that base their model on this 12 to 15 minutes of 80 to 85%. They call it the orange zone. That's where they get their name, Orange Theory Fitness. And so there has been research, and it's actually called EPOC, if you want to look that up, EPOC, exercise post-oxygen consumption. But the research says that if you work out in this zone, 80 to 85% of your max heart rate for 12 to 15 minutes, you will actually not only burn fat and be good exercise for your heart while you're working out, but up to 36 hours after your workout, which is pretty incredible. So if you think about it, if you do a workout on a Monday, Wednesday morning, you are still reaping the benefits of that exercise. That's pretty incredible. So just a really cool tip. So exercise is the number one thing that you can do. Whatever your heart rate, your maximum heart rate is, get your heart rate up to 80 to 85%. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do burpees or get all this fancy gym equipment. You can do it on the floor. You can do, jumping jacks, kettlebell swings. You can get those TheraBands and do, curls or whatever it is that you can do, different types of exercise. It doesn't really matter. Of course, I like the more functional type of movements where you're doing squats or lunges or, bench press or shoulder press type movements, things that are more functional for your life. But it can be any form of exercise as long as you're getting your heart rate up to that 80 to 85% for 12 to 15 minutes. That's what I call the sweet spot. So that is number one. Number two might be a little bit of a shock for you. One of the best things that you can do for your health, for your heart, is actually chiropractic. Now, of course, most people don't associate their back or their neck with their heart, but in fact, if you look at a nerve chart or the flow of a nerve chart, every bit of information has to get from your brain to the end organ. And we are not Bluetooth or wireless, we are a wired species. So that wire is your spinal cord and your nerves. So your nervous system overall is the pathway, is the system that your brain uses to get the messages to heal and function your heart and pretty much every other organ inside your body. About 72 trillion cells are under control of your brain. And so those messages from the brain to the heart have to pass directly through the spine. So there has actually been an abundance of research that shows very specific adjustments to the upper cervical area, or C1, can influence blood pressure and heart rate. So a study, not even a new study, but one of the most well-known ones, one of the most well-respected studies in the cardiovascular world as it pertains to chiropractic, was done in 2007. And the title of the study is called Atlas Vertebra Realignment and Achievement of Arterial Pressure Goal in Hypertensive Patients, a pilot study. And so basically what they did is they took 50 to 60, 50 people, there it is. So 50 people, they did a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. So what that means is they split the group into two. All of them had high blood pressure. Half the group received a very specific C1 adjustment to fix whatever the misalignment was in their upper cervical spine. So, of course, objective tests and measurements were done to evaluate and image the C1 vertebrae as it related to any sort of damage or pressure on the brainstem or on the spinal cord or on those nerves at the very top part of the spine. So, if you have a spine, like I do, well, all of you have a spine, but if you have a model of a spine, the very top part of the spine, this one here, all the way at the top, that's C1. And the brainstem, spinal cord, and the nerves at the very top part of the spine are protected by that C1. And so basically what most of the research has said, in this study specifically, talks about specific misalignments of that top vertebrae, or C1, and if that bone has shifted or misaligned even a little bit, it can put pressure on the brainstem, spinal cord, nerve, and actually cause high blood pressure. And so in this study, they took 50 participants that all of them had a C1 misalignment and all of them had hypertension or increased blood pressure. What they did is they split the group into two. Half the group received a very specific chiropractic adjustment to realign that top vertebrae. Half of them received a fake adjustment. So basically nothing, a sham adjustment is what the authors in this study called it. And what was interesting is those people that received the real adjustment, the C1, very specific, so about 25 of them, in that study, 90% of them, the overwhelming majority of those participants that received the actual adjustment, reduced their overall systolic blood pressure by about 10 millimeters of mercury. So if it was 150 over 90, now it's 140 over, and the average diastolic reduction in blood pressure, was 10. The systolic blood pressure was 17. So a huge reduction in systolic blood pressure. So basically what they showed was that those people, and it was an 8-week study. So they studied these people for 2 months, and over the course of the 2 months, the average drop in hypertension and high blood pressure in those people who had high blood pressure, that had a C1 misalignment, that got the real adjustment, was 17 millimeters of mercury systolic, 10 millimeters of mercury diastolic, which means a huge reduction in overall blood pressure from changing nothing but getting an upper cervical. One thing, one bone in the upper part of the spine has that much influence on blood pressure and heart health. That's crazy. That's amazing. There's actually a lot of other studies that show that as well, but this one specifically spoke to me just because it was a very specific upper cervical adjustment, very similar to my analysis and what I perform in my office and my clinics. But essentially what we're doing is we always want to evaluate and make sure that there is a specific type of misalignment and a very specific adjustment. So what I'm saying is, don't just go run to your chiropractor and say, hey, chiro, hey doc, I got a C1 misalignment, I must because I have high blood pressure. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you have high blood pressure, or if you or a loved one or people that you know have high blood pressure, have them evaluated by a very specific scientific chiropractor, one who takes x-rays. Yes, there are chiropractors out there that don't take x-rays. Have your chiropractor take x-rays, very specific ones, and evaluate it as it pertains to the nervous system, to the brainstem, spinal cord, the nerves, and correct it. Not just manipulate, crack, pop, twist, but correct it and adjust it very specifically so that it takes the pressure off of those of the nervous system and it can actually restore life. Pretty amazing. That's number 2. So number 1 was exercise. Number 2 was specific chiropractic care. Number 3, bergamot. Bergamot is one of those substances and one of those supplements that many people don't know. And I've recently done a lot of research on this, and I'm finding that the overwhelming amounts of information and benefits to bergamot is that it can actually change LDL, which is bad cholesterol, into HDL, which is good cholesterol. So it has this like transforming type properties, which is pretty cool and kind of even crazy to say, but that's kind of what it's like. It has these abilities to transform bad cholesterol into good cholesterol. And most of you know cholesterol is not a bad thing, but bad cholesterol, or LDL, is a bad thing. So if you've had your blood work taken and you know you have high LDLs, you need to get that under control, because that is one of the highest predictors of heart disease or having any type of cardiac event. Not overall cholesterol, which that research has been debunked several times over. Having overall high cholesterol is not bad. Having high bad cholesterol is bad. So have your blood work taken. If you have high LDL, bergamot is one of the best things that you can take. And that's not a lot of people know about that. And I'm finding that out very quickly as I research this more and more. It's not the most cutting edge information, but for a lot of people it are, and for a lot of people it is. Many of you haven't even heard of bergamot before. And I'll be honest, before I had researched it, I only heard about it a few times. And so the more I do a lot of research on it, the more information I'm finding. Of course, they're still doing more research. It is amazing. So it has the ability to transform that bad cholesterol to good cholesterol, and it's amazing for your health. So top 3 things: exercise, specifically high intense exercise for 12 to 15 minutes, getting 80 to 85% of your maximum heart rate. The second thing is very specific upper cervical chiropractic care. And the third thing is bergamots. Take it if you have high LDL, and of course have your blood work taken. My biggest thing in any of my offices, any of my patients that I say and that I meet, test, don't guess. So when it comes to your health, do not just go to any random chiropractor and say, hey, I must have a C1 misalignment, my atlas is off, crack, pop, twist. Do not do that. Very specifically test and measure. And then, just like blood work and just like everything else, if you test and measure once and you are taking something or having a procedure done, like specific chiropractic adjustments or bergamot, you have to always post-test. You have to always test again. So don't go into a blind test, don't guess, and then you have to retest. 2, 3, 4, 6 months later, you always have to retest. So there you go. Those are my 3 tips that you can do to prevent heart disease, maybe even reverse heart disease, and just have an overall healthy heart for you and your family and those that you love. If you found this information helpful, please like, comment, share, do whatever you can. This is the first episode of Revive Your Health. I'm your host, Dr. McNabb. I want to be doing this every single week.